Welcome to our deep dive today, where we'll be exploring how jazz and the civil rights movement kind of like collided.
Right.
You might think of jazz as being all about individual expression, but today we're going to uncover how it became this powerful force for collective action and change.
Yeah.
And to help us do that,
Okay.
we're focusing on three legendary artists, Max Roach, Charles Mingus, and Nina Simone.
Right.
Each one using their music to really challenge the status quo.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to see how, a genre that's built on improvisation and individual artistry could also be this platform for, such strong social commentary.
Yeah, so let's actually start with Max Roach
Yeah.
and Abby Linke's album, We Insist, Freedom Now Sweet, released in 1960.
Oh.
This wasn't just an album, it was a declaration,
Right.
To directly address themes like slavery and segregation in popular music back then.
Yeah.
That was practically unheard of.
It was a radical act,
Yeah.
and they did not shy away from it at all.
No.
Like take Drive a Man, for example.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lincoln's vocals are haunting almost like a ghost from the past.
Yeah.
And Roach's drumming is so sharp and percussive, almost like the crack of a whip.
Wow.
It really evokes the brutality of slavery.
It's so visceral.
Yeah.
What strikes me is how they used African drumming and polyrhythms
Oh, yeah.
in their music.
Yeah.
It's not just about the sound, it's connecting to like this deeper cultural heritage and saying, hey, this struggle's been going on for generations.
Exactly. And it's interesting because the use of those rhythms, links the music back to Africa, the roots of, the African-American experience, and to a history of resistance and resilience.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
And then you have those moments where Lincoln just unleashes these incredible vocal screams.
Yeah.
They're raw expressions of pain and defiance.
Yeah.
It's like she's giving a voice to those who have been silenced, to those whose cries have been ignored for centuries.
Exactly.
And it's interesting because, Lincoln was a light-skinned black woman who could have easily passed as white.
But she embraced her blackness and used her voice to challenge the very system that benefited from silencing voices like hers.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
And it really highlights how Roach and Lincoln were able to weave the personal and political together
Yes.
to create music that was both deeply moving and a call to action.
Absolutely. So we have this incredibly powerful and direct form of protest from Roach and Lincoln.
Yes.
But then we have Charles Mingus, who takes a different approach.
Okay.
His piece, Fables of Faubus, is like this scathing satirical critique of Arkansas Governor Orville Faubus,
Right.
who was, infamous for his opposition to school desegregation.
Yes, Mingus was known for being outspoken.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a genius, but also very fiery and not afraid to use satire and humor as weapons against injustice.
And you can hear that in Fables of Faubus.
Oh, yeah.
It's this incredible mix of gospel blues and avant-garde jazz.
It's really unlike anything else.
How would you even describe what he was doing musically?
It's difficult to put into words because it's so unique.
Yeah.
But he used dissonance a lot, clashing notes and these unexpected shifts in rhythm and harmony.
Yeah.
Creates this feeling of unease, like the
Right.
musical equivalent of someone mocking you,
It's interesting.
which really reflects the absurdity of Faubus's racist policies.
Yeah, and it's not just the message, it's the way he uses the music to amplify that message.
Yeah.
It's playful yet deeply unsettling at the same time.
Yes.
And we can't forget that the song was initially censored,
Oh, wow.
which speaks volumes about how threatening art can be to those in power.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The fact that this satirical piece, disguised as this musical fable, was seen as so dangerous it had to be silenced, that's a testament to the power of art to, challenge the status quo and expose hypocrisy.
It really makes you think. It makes you question. It makes you uncomfortable.
Yes.
And speaking of making people uncomfortable, we have to talk about Nina Simone and her iconic anthem, Mississippi Goddam.
If We Insist was a declaration and Fables of Faubus was satire, Mississippi Goddam was raw, unfiltered rage and frustration.
Yes.
It really marked a turning point for Simone where she transformed from entertainer to activist.
And the context behind this song is just heartbreaking. The murder of Medgar Evers, a civil rights activist,
Right.
and the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, where 4 young black girls were killed.
It's awful.
These events fueled her anger and pushed her to speak out.
Yes.
It wasn't just a song, it was a response to very real tragedies.
Well, you can hear that pain and the fury in her voice.
Yes.
The lyrics are so direct, almost like a gut punch.
Yeah.
And her delivery is so raw and full of emotion.
It's not just singing, it's like she's crying out in anguish and defiance.
It's powerful.
I imagine for those on the front lines of the civil rights movement, This song must have felt like an affirmation of their struggle.
Absolutely. This song really gave voice to that collective anger and frustration that so many people were feeling but couldn't express. It resonated so deeply with the Black community.
Yeah.
And even more importantly, it forced a wider audience to confront the brutal realities of racism in America.
This wasn't just a song for Black audiences. It was a challenge to white America.
Yes.
A demand for justice and accountability.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing how she went from being this celebrated jazz singer to being labeled as this controversial figure because of her music's message.
And its influence extended far beyond the civil rights movement, you know.
Yeah.
It became a blueprint for generations of artists who used their platforms to speak out against injustice.
It's powerful.
She showed the world that music can be more than just entertainment. It can be a powerful force for social change.
Right.
And it's a legacy that continues to this day.
It's incredible how these artists were able to seamlessly blend their art with their activism. You know, it wasn't just about making music. It was about making a statement.
Exactly.
But what I think is so interesting is how they each had their own unique approach.
It wasn't a one-size-fits-all approach to protest.
Right.
Roach and Lincoln, you know, they were so bold and unflinching in their directness. Mingus used satire and wit to kind of expose hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And Simone just poured her raw emotion and anger into her music.
Yeah, it speaks to the diverse range of emotions and responses that the civil rights movement evoked, you know?
Absolutely.
There wasn't one right way to fight for equality, and that's reflected in the music.
Yes.
But even with their different styles, there's a common thread, right?
Yeah.
This idea of using music as a weapon against injustice.
Absolutely. Jazz, with its emphasis on improvisation and pushing boundaries, you know, it provided the perfect vehicle for protest.
Yeah.
It allowed these artists to experiment, to challenge musical conventions.
Right.
And to speak truth to power in a way that was both captivating and subversive.
And they were putting their careers on the line, you know? This wasn't like today where artists can, you know, express their views on social media without much risk. Back then, speaking out against segregation and racism could have serious consequences.
Absolutely. I mean, they faced backlash, censorship, and even threats.
It's scary.
It's a testament to their courage and commitment to the cause, you know, that they were willing to risk so much.
They understood that their music was more than just entertainment. It was a force for change.
Yeah.
And these songs, they weren't just played in jazz clubs. They became anthems for the movement, played at rallies, protests, and homes across the country.
Think about the power of hearing Mississippi Goddam for the first time.
Wow.
The sheer defiance in Simone's voice.
Right.
The way she articulated the anger and frustration that so many people were feeling.
Yeah.
It was a rallying cry, a call to action.
It wasn't just about the lyrics. It was about the energy, you know, the emotion, the way the music made you feel.
Absolutely.
It bypassed intellectual barriers and spoke directly to the heart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what makes music such a powerful tool for social change. It can tap into something deep within us, something that words alone can't always reach.
Yeah.
And it can inspire action.
Right.
Hearing these songs, seeing these artists standing up for what they believed in, it gave people hope and empowered them to fight for their own rights.
It's almost like jazz provided a soundtrack for the movement.
Yeah.
A musical expression of the struggle, the resilience, and the hope for a better future.
And you can draw a direct line from the music of the civil rights movement to the protest music of today. You know?
Oh, for sure.
That spirit of defiance, the call for justice, the belief that music can be a catalyst for change.
Yeah.
Those themes are still resonating.
It's amazing how music can transcend time and connect generations.
It is.
It's like a conversation that keeps evolving and expanding.
And it's a conversation we need to keep having.
Right.
The fight for equality and justice is ongoing.
Yes.
And music will always have a role to play in that struggle.
Absolutely. But what's also fascinating is how jazz as a genre became so intertwined with the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a coincidence, right?
No.
There was something about jazz itself that made it such a powerful force for change.
Precisely. You know, jazz is all about improvisation, about pushing boundaries, about finding your own voice within a collective.
Yeah.
Those are all qualities that were so essential to the civil rights movement.
It wasn't about following a strict script or conforming to the status quo, right?
Yeah, not at all.
It was about challenging the established order.
Yes.
About finding creative ways to resist. About raising your voice and demanding to be heard.
And jazz provided the perfect soundtrack for that.
Yeah.
It was music that embodied the spirit of the movement.
Right.
The energy, the creativity, the determination.
It's powerful.
And it provided a space for dialogue, for collaboration, for community building.
Jazz clubs became gathering places for activists and artists and intellectuals.
They did.
Where they could share ideas and strategize and find inspiration in the music.
Yes. Jazz clubs became these vibrant hubs of creativity and activism.
Yeah, it's remarkable how a genre that was often seen as rebellious or even subversive became such a powerful force for social change.
It is.
It's a reminder that art can be dangerous.
Yes.
It can challenge our assumptions, make us uncomfortable, and force us to confront the realities of the world around us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to protect artistic expression.
Yes.
To support artists who are speaking truth to power. And to recognize the role that art can play in shaping a more just and equitable society.
It makes you appreciate the courage of these artists who risked their careers, their reputations, even their safety.
Oh, yeah.
To use their music as a platform for change.
It's inspiring.
What they did was incredibly powerful and inspiring.
Absolutely. Their legacy continues to inspire artists and activists today.
For sure.
It's a reminder that we all have a voice and that we can use our talents and passions to make a difference in the world.
It also highlights how important it is to listen to those voices.
Yes.
To amplify them and to support the ongoing fight for equality and justice.
Absolutely.
But, you know, beyond the big names like Roach Mingus and Simone, there were countless other jazz musicians who contributed to the movement.
Yes. The impact of jazz on the civil rights movement goes far beyond just a handful of artists.
Right.
It was a collective effort, you know,
a
groundswell of musical activism that rippled through the country.
It's like the entire jazz community in its own way was saying, we're not going to be silent anymore.
Yeah.
We're going to use our music to fight for what we believe in.
Exactly. And they did.
Yeah.
They used their music to challenge segregation, to raise awareness, to inspire hope, and to demand change.
It's a powerful testament to the impact that art can have on social movements.
Absolutely.
It's not just about entertainment.
Right.
It's about giving voice to the voiceless, about using your platform to make a difference.
And it's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, art can be a source of light, hope, and inspiration.
I love.
You know, it can bring people together, give them strength, and help them imagine a better future.
So as we reflect on this incredible fusion of jazz and the civil rights movement, it makes you wonder how many other movements throughout history have been shaped and fueled by music.
Oh, countless. Music has always been such a powerful tool for social commentary and change, you know, from folk songs during labor movements to punk rock challenging authority. Music gives voice to the voiceless and rallies people around shared ideals.
When I think about how central jazz became to the civil rights movement, you know? It makes me think that there's something inherent to jazz itself that made it such a perfect match for this fight for equality.
I think you're right. That element of improvisation, pushing boundaries, speaking your truth in the moment, that's all inherent to jazz. And those qualities resonated so deeply with the spirit of the civil rights movement.
Yeah, it wasn't about conforming. It was about challenging norms, finding creative ways to resist, making sure your voice was heard. Jazz wasn't just background music. It was a way to express, you know, all those complex emotions of the movement, the anger, the hope, that unwavering determination.
And that's what made it so powerful. It wasn't just expressing those emotions, it was channeling them into something that could move people, something that could spark change. You know, those songs became anthems.
They did.
They were rallying cries for a whole generation fighting for a better future.
And their impact is still felt today. There are so many artists now who are carrying that torch, using their platforms to speak out against injustice.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like a conversation that started back then and continues to evolve.
And that's what's so exciting about music and social change. It's not just about the big anthems or the iconic artists. It's about everyday people using music to express their experiences, connect with others, and push for change in their communities.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into jazz and the civil rights movement, what's the biggest takeaway you hope our listeners walk away with?
Well, I think it's crucial to understand that art can be a catalyst for social change.
Yeah.
You know, these jazz musicians weren't just creating beautiful music.
Right.
They were using their art to challenge the status quo. amplify the voices of the oppressed and inspire a movement.
And their legacy reminds us that we all have a role to play in the fight for justice.
We do.
Whether we're musicians, activists, or just engaged citizens, we all have voices. And we can use those voices to make a difference.
So as you move through your day, keep your ears open. Listen for the voices of those who are speaking truth to power.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the music that moves you, that challenges you, and that inspires you to act.
I like that.
Because art has the power to change the world, and we all have a part to play in that.
That's such a powerful thought. And as we leave you today, we have one final question for you to ponder.
Okay.
As you listen to music today, think about how it reflects the social and political landscape of our time. What messages are being conveyed? Who are the voices being amplified? And how can you use your own voice to contribute to the ongoing dialogue for a more just and equitable world?